Well, I'm making a film. It's called
Brazil, where hearts were entertaining June. We stood beneath an amber moon and softly murmured someday soon. We kissed and clung together then. Tomorrow was another day. The morning found me miles away with still a million things to say. Now, when twilight dims the sky above, recalling thrills of our love, there's one thing I'm certain of: return I will to old Brazil.
What is Brazil? What is Brazil?
What is Brazil?
That's a very difficult one to answer.
It's half a dream and half a nightmare. I mean, normally you have reality and dreams, but in this, you have dreams and nightmares.
I guess you could say it's a farce and a romance, and it is a comment on society to come, the future of the world.
Brazil is a dream, and it's a fantasy, and it's a comedy, but I mean, to me, it's rather a chilling reality. Picture me in these.
There's something bizarre and extraordinary.
It's escape into the world of imagination and dreams.
It's a bit like a sort of film for teaching you how to cross the road, and it's all about minding where you're going.
I want to report a wrongful arrest.
Have you got an arrest receipt?
Yeah. It's the depths of the psyche. It's the unconscious uglies. It's the things you run away from. It's the things you don't want to see.
It's a very funny piece, but there's a kind of sinister threat in it.
I think it tells us about relationships between people in a world that has lost its humanity.
It's the myth of the free man in an unfree society.
I think in some of the ideas and thoughts and attitudes and fears about the establishment, about authority, about people doing as they're told unquestioningly, it philosophically comes from the same stable as Python. But in visual terms, it's pure Gilliam.
The film originally began down Port Talbot in Wales, and Port Talbot is a steel town, and the beach is absolutely black from coal dust that's sort of brought on the ships come into the quays, and these great conveyor belts take the coal, and coal dust covers everything, so it's pitch black beach. And I was sitting there at sunset, and I just had this image of this guy sitting on this beach looking at the sunset with a radio and picking up strange music like Brazil's and Latin American romantic stuff. And that's where it all started from. That's what the film is still about. It's about somebody trying to escape from it or thinking there's an escape from it. When I first was writing this film, I had Jonathan in mind. As we were rewriting it, we were going to think he needed to be a younger character. And he read it and he called me up and said, I want to do it. I just said, okay, I'll humor him and give him a screen test. He did this thing, and I said, well, that's it. He's got the part. The minute Jonathan did it, there was no way anybody else could do it.
Jonathan is quite extraordinary, and he's extremely professional. He's been on set virtually every single day.
Here we are, your very own number on your very own door. And behind that door, your very own office. Congratulations, DZ-015. Welcome to the team. Yes. No. Cancel that. Send 2 copies to finance. Send that up to security.
You remember the documentary crew I told you about yesterday?
Hello, documentary crew. Oh, you're very nice. It's my big break into the glamour stakes, this film. Hollywood are baying for me. My involvement with Terry Gilliam goes back a few years ago, and he's very much an individual in his approach to his work. Each day is a challenge for Terry, and it's I don't know, it's very good to be able to fulfill, or to want to fulfill, his imagination. Back into memory. Central banking. I worked as a clerk for the ministry, the information retrieval, sort of computer-type clerk, who, from the greyness of life, basically dreams of another life, of being a sort of Superman hero figure, rescuing damsels in distress.
Now, this is a model of Sam in the film, who's having a dream of flying about. The hair's made of feathers, so as it travels through the wind, there's a little bit of movement from that. Inside this, we've got a motor that makes the wings flap up and down. We have to do this very, very fast because we're turning over at 5 times speed. Because the clouds we use move their smoke and they move very fast. We have to slow them down to make them look real. On the back here, we've got this rather interesting piece of dressing which looks very nice, but it also has a function because when we fly the real actor, he'd be wearing these wings. They're about 13 or 14 feet wingspan. They're quite heavy. And we can use this system to take the weight out of the wings when he's flapping. He won't have to do any work, except for acting.
What do you want to do?
I'm not sure where the best place.
In The Meaning of Life, he did that short which was building moving along. When he writes in a script a building moving along, he doesn't want anything less than that.
Bending it when you're in that position.
That's right, yeah. If we were going to do flying for any other film, I wouldn't worry. But when Terry says he wants to see flying, he means he wants to see flying, nothing less than the virtual reality.
It's just the wrong, I mean, it just isn't allowing it to be.
Every time I read the scripts, I just get frightened in my heart, sort of go, oh, God.
You don't want that.
I was just trying to get that movement there. I lie to myself a lot, but it's all possible and easy. I think it's the only way the films would happen, because then by lying to myself, I believe it's going to be possible, and I convince a lot of other people it's going to be possible. At least we start the process, and then we're into it. That's when the reality rears its ugly head. It's about right for Jonathan Price.
All I need is bamboo shoots under the fingernails to complete the picture. His glorious blonde wig turned out to be heavy hair, and the wind machine wasn't picking it up properly. His dream girl is totally giving of herself, which is polar opposite, the other end of the axis, to Jill, who is mortified of giving anything of herself.
I'm sorry, boys, but we haven't got any bacon. We got no bacon. We got plenty of room. Oh, it's all right. We take a room.
Who's there?
Kim was sort of thrust into this crowd of real pros. She's fine, she's terrific. Yeah, she's got a good character in there.
And I know it's going to sound incredible, but I've been dreaming about you. No, not like that. I mean, I love you. I mean, in my dreams. I mean, extraordinary, isn't it?
She's very good here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good looking, sexy. Just my type.
I just don't deserve such terrific luck.
Damn right.
Yeah, and that's what you need. When we start putting the sounds on, Terry will be putting huge screams on, big boot sounds. We go bang! Ah! Well, this was a very difficult film to start with. There was always a panic about the script. Terry had ideas, but he didn't actually, he couldn't get them into the script, and it went through a couple of writers.
I just said, have you ever thought of working with Tom Stoppard? And that seemed a wonderful idea, you know, me and my pictures and him and his words.
I think he only came to me because the whole thing, by the time a film gets made, we're all a lot older. And I think that the pages had just got flattened out as the months passed, and he wanted somebody to just sort of stir them up a bit and see what came to the surface.
Actually, I really wanted him to shake, not just shuffle it, I mean to really shake the thing by the scruff of the neck.
Terry, I think, would like to have met more often, talked on the phone more often. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to talk to him a couple of times and take the whole thing away. And then he'd have to trust me for a couple of months. And then he'd get back 120 pages, for better or worse.
He preferred exactly that. To write, go away, write, come back. We discuss it, you go away. And I can't work that way.
I think that most people who make films would like to meet twice a day with the writer so they can change in the afternoon what had been written in the morning.
I think that was ultimately our difficulty, and it's exactly that. It's about different work habits.
Terry, as most film directors, and quite possibly rightly, considers that the director is the author of the celluloid.
And I don't think he's used to arguing. I think because of the way he works, and he works on his own most, I mean, because of his success, he doesn't have to argue the point too much. And I really wanted to drag him down into the mire with me a bit.
And he'd just say, well, fine, when we're shooting it, I'll be there, you won't be there. I'll do anything I like with it. You do see this, don't you? And I said, yes, all right, but just for today, on paper, let's do this. And then next year, you know, do what you like.
It's good that he remembered that, because I knew that was a crucial moment. But I didn't, at the time, I didn't think he would take it quite as hard as I think he took it. Because I was actually just being honest. I wasn't trying to use it as a power play, as a threat.
Most writers dream of directing their own script. It's the only situation which makes sense, which is why many directors write their own scripts, even the ones who can't write.
Tom isn't a collaborator. He warned me that at the beginning.
I mustn't leave that the way it is. Terry is a writer. You know, what I've just said does not apply to Terry. He actually is a genuine writer.
I thought maybe this time we could actually change him, but, you know, none of us changed, so I'm not going to change, and he's not going to change. I do still think he's brilliant.
Terry and I disagreed about whether things were funny or not, but as I found Time Bandits very funny, I tended to think that he must be right and I must be wrong.
In the end, that's why I got involved with Charles.
In Life of Brian, I played 12 different parts. That was where I first met Terry. And one of the parts I played was the blind man.
To do take after take of a blind man tripping and falling down a hole. Now, that's an extremely difficult thing to do.
I think Terry was quite impressed with the way I threw myself down the hole.
It was the best thing I'd ever seen.
And I think that's why he asked me to do some writing on Brazil for him. I can't think of any other reason.
Charles was one who had no claims on his time except me, and we could sit and argue it to death.
I don't think there were any very strong disagreements about anything.
All the elements were there. I just, you know, they were just added in the wrong order.
If there were, Terry won.
I think I made it funnier, but I'm not sure if I did, because later there was another script which Terry then did afterwards.
I can't remember which bits I've written and which bits... I mean, obviously, I've written the best bits.
I haven't seen the script which they're shooting. I don't know how much of it is mine and how much of it was the first script and how much of it was the next script.
So I try to forget the script. Once we start filming, I try to forget it. I try not to look too much at rushes. I mean, I look at them only when I'm about to cut them to try and have a really spontaneous feel about them. And then I try and guess where they're supposed to go. Here, while you're here, Terry, there's one close-up of her that's wrong.
Shirley, what are you going to have?
Between you and me, mademoiselle, today, the number one.
Whatever the writer writes, whatever the actor acts, whatever anything is at the end, it's the guy who sits there with the scissors, who's cutting the thing, and he can do anything with it, and he will do anything with it. They always do.
Wait! Raise veal in wine sauce.
Ooh, it's too exciting.
Excusez-moi.
The acid man? Really? Salt.
The restaurant scene which we shot at Mentmore was extraordinary. It's the home of transcendental meditation. Is where we shot one of our most violent scenes. Thinking about it as a more meaningful film, the way it was played. I mean, the fact that, I mean, you've got very wealthy people sitting, eating at a restaurant. An explosion goes off, and they carry on with their meal.
Right. I saw the most wonderful idea for Christmas presents at the chemist. Gift tokens. Medical gift tokens.
Oh, that sounds marvelous.
At one moment, I thought we were involved in a very sick joke, because there's a film that takes place at Christmas time, all about bombs going off in shopping centers. And then at Christmas time, Herod blows up, and they were back in business. just like that.
I thought it had actually gone wrong. I couldn't believe the sort of size of the flames and the fireballs that were coming through.
Yeah.
And it's pretty dangerous stuff.
Well, we just won't get it. You'll be lucky to get the scene.
They wanted me to do this massive explosion out of the kitchen, but that was quite a problem. We couldn't make loud bangs in case the glass cracked. And the whole place was glass, had a glass roof, glass walls. So we used these gas guns. And then we do lots of tests and we calculate just how far people in the restaurant can sit away from the ball of fire without getting their hair singed.
George Gibbs, who's doing the special effects, and he just finished Raiders too, and he says this one is harder.
Oh, my God. You want Michael Palin? He's not in. Well, if he is in, he's busy. All right, if you want to see him, he'll have to go and see his personal assistant, Mr. Katzenberg, around the back, in the garden. I'll tell him you're here.
Mike's wonderful.
Harvey, trouble.
He provides coffee and things on the set, if I remember correctly. He's a little-known man who, this could be his big break, I think. Put him in the eyes of the world as a supporting actor.
Ah, good afternoon. I'm Katzenberg, Mr. Palin's personal assistant. Extremely personal assistant. I'm afraid he's rather busy at the moment. We're trying to cut him down to 23 interviews a day, but if you'd like to take your place in line, he's giving some phone interviews over in the Attenborough room. I'm sure he'll oblige. Thank you.
In a strange way, this was probably one of the more difficult things for Mike, because I was trying to get him to play himself, which isn't what Mike does. Mike is brilliant at playing 10 million other characters.
No, I played the character of Jack. Yeah, Jack Lint. No, someone else plays the girl. That's right. Sam! He's sort of best friend of the hero, and he retrieves information from people in various different ways, most of which are fairly gruesome. Jack really is the sort of man who likes to look right and likes to have everybody around him looking right, even his wife.
Action. Sam! Sam, do you know Alison? Do you remember? Alison. Sam Larry, old friend. Alison, yes, of course. Well, you look different.
Well, I'm 2 years older.
And she's been to Dr. Jaffe. She doesn't like me telling people, but in fact, she's really pleased. I knew there was something different. Remember how they used to stick out? What? Oh, yes. Well, rather. Always used to wonder if they were real.
What, my ears?
Sorry? Dr. Jaffe pinned her ears back. Yes, that's right. Always used to wonder if she wore false ears. Oh, Mr. Heltman. Alison. False ears.
Sorry. That was fun, Captain.
Terry is worth working for, if you see what I mean.
Don't get excited just because you're on film today. It can all be cut out later.
He tends to produce on screen things which other people would never even begin to attempt to produce on screen. Our collaboration began with the Python movies, and then Jabberwocky. We then worked together on Time Bandits, which I actually did some writing for as well. Brazil, yeah. No, not in Brazil. It's called Brazil.
Brazil.
It's a world where people would like to be when they go to work in the morning. And the factory hooter goes, and you dream of being somewhere else.
Early on, I said we wanted to shoot in power stations, and Croydon came up, and we were looking at it, and I said, well, I always wanted to look inside a Kodak tower.
The film company making Brazil are using the cooling towers now. I don't really want to know too much about the tricks they're getting up to over there. It looks quite a dangerous procedure to me.
We'd built a walkway across to the middle of it, 4.5 feet wide. But originally it was just one of those little spines that, were 9 inches wide going out there. I was terrified.
One, take two.
Oh, Jack!
There weren't any particularly easy scenes in this film. Everyone was a nightmare.
My job on Brazil was to age Catherine from 70 to 40. This meant making her look older at first, then making her look younger afterwards. The job involved taking a head cast of Catherine.
And already she's twice as beautiful as she was before. Voila!
This is Catherine Hellman's head. What I've got to do now is sculpt in clay all the bags and wrinkles that make her look older. This can take a week or two. What I do next is make a latex copy of the clay modelling that's been done on this face, which looks something like this.
I first met Terry Gilliam on the telephone. It seems that he was doing a film called Time Bandits, and he said, hello, want to come and do a film with the crazy American? He had seen Soap, which was very popular over here, and still is, I guess, it's still going. And he thought that my kind of acting suited his kind of directing and scripts. Just bent, just a little off. At the time we were doing Time Bandits, he talked to me about the character that I'm doing now. He said then that he had an idea for a crazier film than Time Bandits, but he didn't think anybody would ever give him the money to do it.
These suits, which we had made special for a scene in the film where the air conditioning goes wrong, you see. So they get the two guys from the ministry to come along and rectify the fault.
Have you got a 27B stroke 6?
27B stroke 6. 27B stroke 6.
We found a company that make plastic suits for people that work in chemical environments. Believe it or not, people wear these when they're manufacturing bread to stop the hormones getting in their lungs, so we're told.
What? My God, what's going on?
Emergency procedures.
I haven't got an emergency.
Sam and Tuttle, Robert De Niro, they come along and they change over the sewerage for the oxygen supply on a panel outside the flat.
Oh, God. Jesus. The smell! Stop it! Oh, God. Shit.
We're all in it together, kid.
I don't know how De Niro does it, but he does it. It doesn't even show when you're first looking at it. And then when you put the whole thing together, it's there. It's a film performance. It's not a performance per slate.
Arnon Milchan is producing. Had just done King of Comedy and was doing Once Upon a Time in America, both starring De Niro. Arnon was saying, well, why don't we get someone like Bobby De Niro to be in the thing, you know? He just didn't consider that sort of thing. He's far too big a name for the likes of us.
It's a very daunting prospect to have someone from a totally different background in terms of discipline and training.
It was only to the last minute he finally said yes. And it became such a battle, us trying to convince him, at the same time trying to tell him it was going to be very difficult.
Every 2 weeks, I get a visiting celebrity comes and acts.
Why? I came into this game for the action, the excitement. Go anywhere, travel light, get in, get out. Wherever there's trouble, a man alone.
He's got an amazing screen presence. I mean, there's a strange animal magnetism there. The minute he comes into the film, you feel it. There's something in here. And for him, this was a very difficult thing because he's never done a bit part in a film. I mean, he's the star of a film always. In a strange way, he's turned out to be the most important relationship for the Sam character in there.
Who was that?
As a friend of mine, there are no nice, cozy domestic scenes. No long car shots where you can get in nice music.
You know, it's hard for people to just sit and say, well, what is this film about? Because you're being smashed in the head all the time by these visuals.
The eyes actually follow Sam flying across the sky and finally landing on the top of the stone monolith. Oh, it's going to be a shock to see the single eye. When we pull back and see that there are thousands of damn things, it's going to be horrendous. And then when they move, it's going to get even worse.
The main ball is a snooker ball, cue ball. And the iris is a photographic reduced painting. Then we have to make the lens by pouring clear casting resin from the back. The whole lot took about 3 weeks to make. I can't come back on a separate pan. The filming of it probably about another 3-4 weeks.
And as I was putting it together, I suddenly realised that half of the dream sequences that we had weren't working, and the opening dream sequences would actually spread to fill up the space that the other dreams were going to take.
I seem to do this in every film. There's a great sequence that gets lost, and the eyeball sequence is one.
Some things had to go. And unfortunately, the eyeball sequence went.
No, I mean, that's the problem. I find the whole process a depressing one, because it's much easier to imagine amazing places and things. And when you actually put it on film, it's not quite as good as you imagined it.
Don't go. Please.
What is Brazil? Yeah, no, I just, there was someone else on the line, a Japanese voice.
I don't even know why it's called Brazil. I keep asking Terry why it's called Brazil.
At the beginning of filming, I had a view of it, and at the end of the filming, I'll have a view of it. Right now, because we're right in the middle, it's, I've forgotten.
Nobody knows. It's Brazil.
It's,
But answer number 2. How about the impossibility of escape from reality? How about that?
It's a Viking musical.
Let's try another one. About late-night shopping and terrorist bombings?
At the moment, I don't really know which script is being shot.
Terry said, well, for heaven's sakes, don't say that it's too serious to anybody, because then people will stay away from it.
I think there's a lot of strange things in this film.
No, I have no scenes with Nastasia Kinski. She's not in it.
I'm not sure if this is the kind of plug that Terry wants for his movie.
It's like lifting the top off Terry Gilliam's skull
It's mad,
and glimpsing inside.
and it's wonderful.
it's entering Terry Gilliam land.
It's Franz Kafka meets Walter Mitty.
It's fine.
Very strange.
Sorry. Oh, let me rephrase it. It's fine. It's great.
Thank you very much. Good night.